Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to our session tonight, OWASP Riyadh. And thank you so much for joining, Mr. Mirza. I appreciate your time and effort, inshallah, and the information that you're going to talk about and your topic as well, about web application. The main topic and the specific topic, what are we missing in web application? Mr. Mirza, inshallah, will give us very good, an interested topic tonight. I would actually love to pass the mic to Mr. Atif. You can give more introduction about Mr. Mirza. Atif?
Yeah, hi. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Today we have Mr. Mirza Burhan Baig, who is a threat analyst with Riyadh Bank, and he'll be speaking on what are we missing in web application. And this is one of the important topic today's time, where web applications have multiple vulnerabilities. Let me give a brief introduction about Mirza Burhan Baig. So Mirza Burhan Baig, he's a threat analyst at Riyadh Bank, and he is OSCP certified with more than 8 years of experience in pen testing, threat hunting, and VA. And he has been working with multiple banking applications, performing mobile pen testing as well as network assessment. So he has a strong background in doing security assessments with the financial industries. Mr. Baig also holds some prestigious certifications like OSCP, EWPTX, and number of other ELAN security certifications. And mashallah, he has been involved in the bug bounties and some of the top companies like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon. And this is just a short list. Mashallah, he has a number of other, his name is mentioned in other companies as well for bug bounties. And it is our pleasure to have Mr. Mirza. And I would like to invite Mr. Mirza, and he'll start with his presentation.
Hello, can you guys hear me properly?
Yes, we can hear you. You can start.
Right, yeah. So first of all, Atif and Salman, thank you very much for the brief introduction and for the opportunity to speak on a OWASP Riyadh chapter. So I hope everyone is coming along, and we will be starting a presentation in a minute. So I'll be sharing my screen and the presentation, and then we can start. Host. Atif, can you enable me to share the screen?
Sure, just a second.
Sure.
You can share your screen.
Okay. Now I can share my screen. As you can see. All right. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes, your screen is clear.
Okay. So I'll be starting my presentation with the title and some brief introduction that was given by Atif already, but I'll share a few more insights, and then we can move forward to the topic that we will be discussing in the web applications now. Okay, so the topic is, what are we still missing in web applications? And this is a topic that we all here in our daily life, and we work on our daily life with the web applications, but we miss it out somehow. And the scanners, the dynamic and the static scanners, how much they're effective in this kind of vulnerability, and how we can detect this kind of vulnerability in a plain sight or with a development background. If you are developing a website, then you can work in on this as well. So moving forward to a little bit brief description and the my background. As you have heard that I'm OSCP certified with multiple certifications with the eLearn security and others. My primary areas nowadays is red teaming. I work for in the web application, mobile application, mostly penetration testing, and I was associated with the banks, mostly in Pakistan, where I worked 5 years for financial industries with almost every bank. And I was working with the bank. They were developing their core banking solution in 2015 and 2016, back in that days. So I was doing the secure code review for them as well. So acknowledged by, this is a list for the bug bounty hunting, as most of the people know what is a bug bounty hunting, right? Work for multiple sectors. Now, if I move towards the topic that what are current and critical web application flaws. So the major changes, if we see from 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21 is still. So we were following OWASP top 10, right? And OWASP top 10, what is OWASP top 10? Everyone knows, but a brief description about that as well. It's a baseline, it's a framework, so we can use it for the web application penetration testing. It is available for the mobile applications as well, and we have it for the secure code reviews as well. So now, if we talk about the OWASP top 10, we have always heard about this, that the injections are the #1 flaw. That is a A1. Okay, Atif, I have to admit everyone in the room, or you can do that as well?
No. Please continue. We will take care of it.
Okay, perfect. I have admitted one person. So uh, what you're talking about. Okay, so we were talking about the OWASP top 10. So the #1 OWASP top 10 problem was the injections. Then we were talking about the broken authentication. Then there was an XSS attack in the A7. So these are the few things that we were working when I started my bug bounty hunting back in 2013, 2012. So these were the baselines, frameworks that we all follow. We have a checklist for the OWASP as well. If you Google it, OWASP checklist for web applications, you'll find a document in the Excel form, and it have all the control checks that you have to do while testing your web application. But now, if we see in 2021, 2021, and now as we are in the end of 2021, we are entering in the 2022. So we have a new framework, the same old framework of the OWASP top 10, but with a revised list. Now if we see that injections are moved to 3rd position and the broken access control are moved to 1st position. And there is a flaw in the broken access control as well that I'll be discussing today. So the major changes means we all want changes, right? In the web applications, in our life, in our technology. So as the technology grows, this list will be revised multiple times in the current scenarios. Now, if you talk about the why we need a change, we have discussed that why we need change. Everything needs to be changed. Our technology, our people, our life, everything needs a change. So that's why OWASP top 10 is changing dynamically itself with the current technology and the scenarios. Second thing that I want to discuss that is most important is static and dynamic scanners. The static and dynamic scanners, if you talk about multiple brands, if I can talk about that, we have worked with the Burp Suite scanner with a very low scanning capabilities, the NetSparker, the Acunetics, the IBM AppScan source for analysis, and for the web scanner as well. We have a lot of SonarQube for the source code analysis. We have a lot of scanners available in the market, depending on your need and your financial budgets of your organization. So if you talk about the static and dynamic scanners, if we are talking about a vulnerability, I'm sure that we have heard about every vulnerability that a scanner can detect, right? The scanners can detect SQL injection, the XSS, the server-side template injection, the XML entity injections, and multiple others. But there is one vulnerability that scanners cannot detect directly. If you are not tuning your scanner, if you are not making use cases, so you cannot detect that kind of vulnerability with just a scanner, no matter which one, no matter how expensive that is. So third thing I want to discuss over here is that multiple vulnerabilities are already patched by the browsers, by the developers, by the frameworks we use, by the libraries. Just for the sake of the example, I'm just taking the SQL injection for the current scenario. How it is protected? It is protected by the input validations. And how input validations are protected? If someone is a .NET developer over here or any kind of developer, we have secure libraries available. Now, if we put input somewhere, if you want to take the input from the front end and process it to the back end, so we have a library, a secure library that we just put on that validation, and everything is already set up because your blacklist character, your whitelist character, depending on your organizational need, it is protected. Parameterized queries, stored procedures, correct escaping. In short, I want to just say that everything in the SQL injection or XSS, if we are talking about, everything is now protected by the browser and by the libraries, secure libraries, until and unless there's a developer who mistakenly leaves something. So that will cause the effect. But if there is properly implementation of those libraries and the frameworks, your vulnerabilities are almost patched in the current scenario. But there are other vulnerabilities as well that will be protected by the framework or the developers input validations or something like that. The thing that we are talking about today will be business logic flaws. The problem with the business logic flaws that I was reminding and I was saying previously, that no scanner can detect your business logic flaws. So now if you're talking about the business logic flaw, we'll be talking a few slides with the business logic, and then I'll be discussing with the real life examples that I have encountered in my tenure of doing penetration testing for the financial industry mostly. So what are business logic flaws? Business logic law, a very brief and simple definition and example is there is a sequence of doing something A, B, C, D. And if you are missing a sequence and your work is done, then there is a business logic flaw in your application. Now, if I jump directly from A to C and then I go to D, so I'm jumping off one step, that is my B. And if the system is accepting all the logics and the queries and the requests from the front end to the back end, skipping one step. So that is my business logic flaw. So how do business logic flaw vulnerabilities arise? Negligence of the developer. When you are not protecting your components, your private methods, your views, example, for the sake of the example, if you're talking about the .NET example. So if you're not protecting your views, your controller and your model properly, from for example, there's a profile page and there's a token page inside that, and you are not protecting that properly by implementing the session handling on that model view or the controller, anything, then you are making it available for the business logic flaw. What impacts can be done? What is the most impact we can witness with the business logic? I will just share an example with you all. On the HackerRun, there's a platform for the bug bounty hunting, right? HackerRun. The most eligible and the most highly paid bounties are of business logic flaw. There was an Indian boy, he bypassed the OTP verification for the Instagram, and they paid him for around 20,000 US dollars just for bypassing their business logic. And he did that again with some other technique after some time, and they paid him 15,000 US dollars once again. So that's a total of $35,000 for a single vulnerability. That was a business logic flaw, that there was not checking up that OTP request, how much they were sent, and he was chaining an attack. And there was a huge story about that. So the main reason, what is the impact? Anyone can see your data, anyone can manipulate your data, anyone can alter your data as well if there is a business logic flaw in your web application, and anyone can access the data. Recently, uh, as you all know that we have to do the PCR testing while we are traveling around the world. I was traveling to a country and I had to do a PCR test. So the report came to me and I opened that report on a browser. Something came up in my mind and I just put that URL in my burp suite, and I tried to change the request IDs so I can see other reports, but I was unable to see the reports because it's protected, but not that much, because I see a hidden tag going on in the request form. I just removed that, and the responder repeater just showed me the reports of the lab. And it is still vulnerable, and I'm not gonna take the name, but they are working on it to fix that. So this is the business logic flaw, that you can see everything that reside on the website. That depends how much access do you have on the web application. But if you are checking the web application, and if you are doing the bug bounty hunting, or you are testing your own web application, just try to manipulate the request data, capture it once, repeat it twice, and with the other user intentions and the collaborations as well. So if we move forward with the common vulnerabilities that arise in the business logic flaw. What are the common vulnerabilities that we all face? Number one thing, we trust client side controls, that every client will put the specific data that we have all asked. For example, if someone is asking me about my name and I'm putting some numbers in that, that will not be validated, and the error will be there that, sir, do not use the numbers in the name field. That is client side control from the front end. But if I'm changing that with the temporary request in the burp suite, so it will bypass it, right? Now we have to cater it on the back end, on the server end as well, so it will be properly validated that the input what we have asked is received on the back end. Number second thing, that most importantly we always think when we are developing, that user always supply mandatory input. The same thing, if you guys are familiar with the file upload vulnerabilities, so we can put the check on the extensions, upload the JPEG, but if I upload the PDF, it won't be uploading it, right? But if I change the content type and the meme type of the file with the magic numbers, if I upload a file with the magic number of something else and the content is something else, will it be uploading that? That will be checked on the server side. So there are multiple thousand of examples that we can discuss over here with the business logic flaws, that how it can be done and what can be done. User won't always follow the intended sequence that I've already discussed with you, that there's a sequence of doing everything. Open up the website, put your credentials, go to the dashboard, go to the messages and the profile. But if I'm skipping the input credential part and I'm just using your previous request and repeating on the server, and the server is still receiving that, so there is a major flaw in your web application, and that will be counted as a business logic flaw. Now I'll be jumping to the web applications that I have done and I've encountered in my tenure. Number one example I will be sharing, there's a CV that is already published in 2019 about that. There were two users. I was working for a bank and there was an alert system for the financial fraud management system in the bank. So the problem was there was a two users that were provided to me. There was a analyst MY and an analyst EP. If you can see on the left hand side of the screen, you can see that. So what I did, I just captured the request from the first user that was a highly privileged user. I just captured all the alerts and the search query that was requested by the analyst that has higher privileges. Then what I did, I just saved that request and I moved back to my previous user that was a low privilege user that can only access the reports of the system. I just log in with that and I just put that back whole request on the burp suite, and I can see all the alerts, all the data that is going in my system with a low privilege user. And that was the Oracle application. So I have published that. I have reported that uh, to them. They have patched that, and the CV was published in 2019. So there was a system. The simple logic was I used two users, one high privilege user, second low privilege user. The high privilege user, I did all the searching, save all the queries, save all the requests that I have made with the high privilege user. Then I just repeat that with the low privilege user's identity and see if the data is popping up from that. If the data is popping up, it means you can fetch the data, you can alter the data, and you can change the data as well on the web application as a high privilege user while you are using low privilege. Okay, the second example I will be sharing over here that I have encountered. Uh, that was a very fascinating. Why? Because that is a mobile application for the bank, and I can see all the financial data, and we can do that. We can do anything with that, right? So how it was working and how I flooded on the starting from the left hand side, there's a username and password. I put the username and password. There was a OTP pin passcode was sent to my mobile number, registered mobile number. Now what I did, I tried to do one thing. I just put the wrong username and wrong passcode. I just put 0000. That was not the right OTP, right? So suddenly it pop-ups invalid passcode. I press OK. It redirects me back to the login screen. That was the first left hand side screen top. So I put the username and password once again, and I just click the login, and nobody asked me OTP this time. So the server was just checking the OTP request for the first time, not for every request that I was sending. So the complete scenario was I put the username and password, I put the wrong OTP, it redirects me back to the username and password. I put the username and password once again, and voila, I'm inside my account. That's my testing account. So you can see on the right hand side. So always check your application once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. Just provide the wrong username and password, wrong OTP. Maybe there was a check. Maybe there was a check that check the web application for the OTP for 2 times or the 3 times. 4th time, it will be bypassed if there is no check available. Okay, so we are moving for the third application that I've found during my tenure. This is a very interesting application because mostly all of these applications are belonging to the financial mobile application, banking applications, and others. So this one is very critical. Why? I'll tell you. Just give me a moment. Yeah. So this one is very critical application. Why? Because I was able to bypass the OTP with the request and response that I have received from the server. So the first thing I did that I just used the username and password, the right username and password. I put the correct OTP that was highlighted. That is also highlighted in the second image on the right top, the NN text OTP text 413342. So I just put the right OTP and I captured the redirection request that was server was sending. On the bottom, if you can see, there's a request. I have captured that a long way on my side. And what I did then, I used the username and password once again, and I put the wrong OTP this time. So if you can see on the left hand side, I put the username and password, and the center image, you can see it's highlighted provided OTP is incorrect. So the problem is that I have put the wrong OTP deliberately. So now I will be using the previous request that was already passed to the server, and server claimed that the OTP is correct. So I just captured the request. I just replace that with the correct response this time, and the server bypassed my request and I was able to check my account. And again, this is a testing account we did for the for a bank. So these all are production application. I just want to say that these are not on the UAT environment. These are the production web accessed URLs. So these are the three examples and the three practical approaches that I have done. First thing, second thing, and third thing, I have bypassed the OTP this time. So my suggestion and my 2 cents in this will be, in this example is specific, capture every request that is in your burp suite. Capture every response that is coming from the server. You do not know that which one will be acting as a correct response in your correct, if you are putting the wrong credential, wrong OTP, and if you are passing some wrong information, but there's a response from the server that says you are right, then it will be bypassed properly without any flaw. So the security flaw, design flaw, we know that business logic flaw arise by the security design flaw. This is the same example. I have taken this image from the Portsuiger, the burp suite developers. So they are explaining it with the same example that I did with the my mobile application and the OTP bypass one. Attempt one, attempt two, attempt three, username password correct, and boom, you are inside the account. So security design flaws are the main problem for the business logic flaws. And if you are a developer, if you are a tester, if you are a SQA, and if you are someone who is capable and enabled to do a certain task on a web application, please do check it with multiple credentials, multiple privileges, multiple users, two different department users, and you can see the data. If the data is appearing in your burp suite repeater, then there's a flaw. So you can test it with two users as well. Now, as I was discussing previously, that there are no scanner that can check your business logic flaws in static or dynamic analysis, but you can tune that. You can enable some plugins and some things that will be helpful while doing your business logic flaws. There is a plugin, Auth Metrics. It is available freely in the burp suite. If you want to download that, you can do that. You can create the workflows with different user group and the roles that I was discussing. Create different users. Ask if you are a penetration tester, if you are a SQA, ask for different users with the different roles, with the different page integrations, with the different page privileges, and test it against with cross domain things. For example, there's a user 1, 2, 3. Capture the request from user 1, repeat it with user 3, and test it with user 2. So you can cross the request and the response things while testing your web application, and this will, trust me, this will reveal a lot of things that you are not doing right now. So if you're testing with the business logic flaws, never leave anything. For example, if why I say always this, in the input validation, you only target the input validation where the front end is asking for the inputs. You test it with the all the blacklist characters, all the XSS payloads, all the SQL breakpoints, the comment points. But in the business logic flow, Do not leave anything. Test it with every single thing, accessing the page, accessing the data, accessing the search, and what's on, what not. So this is the good plugin for you if you want to automate your system with to check against the business logic flaws. What to look for in secure coding, if you are working with the secure code to mitigate it. uh, Number one thing I want to discuss is divide and model the workflow. Now, if you divide and model the workflow, you will have complete understanding of the web application or the any application, that how this application is working, where the inputs are coming, how the outputs are going, and which is the place I want to put the control on the session handling or something like that. So identify where controls were carried out and where they are not. The most critical thing is that you have to understand the flow of the application that I've already discussed, that where are my critical things, how these critical things can be accessed from a leverage user and underprivileged user, how they can both jump to the conclusion, jump to the page, and how the evaluation will be responding. Analyzing the controls, the perimeter sent, the response returned. As I've already mentioned, if you're a tester, check every parameter, check every request and the response against that. This is my personal practice. I open two notepads, basically notepad plus plus files, and I just put request in one and response in one, and there are multiple tabs in that as well. So you have to make a track record that once the request is sent to the server, how the server is responding my request every time. So what you have to ask, if you're a web application owner, system owner, mobile application owner, where to where, from where, where's my data, to where it's going, and from where it's coming, how often, how long. If you need the data for a user, the ideal time should be less than the prescribed comment. And if you have a policy of the framework, you have that time listed, right? How much, what quantities, how much data you needed. And if I'm talking about the APIs right now, the APIs are very unsafe nowadays. You protect the web application, you protect the logins, but you leave the APIs unhandled, unconventional inputs. So you have to see that as well. Why, what cause, what purpose you need something, why you need it, for what cause you need it, what purpose you need, and how much time you will take to access it or you will use it. So these are all the questions you have to ask before developing anything or giving the access to any controller from the front end. Or if you are a Python or the PHP developer, you can work on that side as well. But you have to be very specific what you are offering online in the DMZ zone, because DMZ zone is the main door to enter in your server farm. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much everyone for your patience and for your time. And now I'll take few questions. I will take the question and I'll answer that. If you want to contact me, scan the barcode and you'll be there. Thank you very much everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mirza, for your wonderful presentation. It was very informative.